Today, we have Mr. Shashank Mani amidst us. We are honored and privileged to have you here, sir. And on behalf of all the university members, I welcome you. Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence is aimed at providing both spiritual and secular knowledge to the youth of this country. It has broken the conventional method of educating children from rural India and stands as a testimony to spread the wisdom of Bharat to every corner. To give a brief about Mr. Shashank Mani, sir. Shashank Mani is the founder of Jagriti movement that is well known across India, particularly youth of this country. This consists of Jagriti Enterprise Center, Purvanchal, which are aimed at promoting enterprise in small towns and districts what Shashank calls Middle India. His first job was with Schlumberger, where he toured the world for 7 years, living in diverse countries like Yemen, Scotland, England, Nigeria, and Singapore. He received an alumni award from IIT Delhi, where he did his B.Tech in mechanical engineering and thereafter an MBA honors from IMD Lausanne. He is a published author of India, A Journey Through a Healing Civilization, published by Harper Collins India 2008. And this book was subsequently published in Hindi. His upcoming book, India, A Diamond in Rough Outlines, speaks about his theory of enterprise creation in Tier 2 and Tier 3 districts with a call for action to create a national movement in the Amrit Kall based on Udyamita. He lives and works in Mumbai and Deoria. And he says, only by leaving your home and going out of your comfort zone, you can recognize that your own place has to be built and refreshed again. Shashank believes nation building is not just the job of a selective group of people. It is the duty of every single citizen. And to explore the new India, one should go and explore the India of small towns and villages. It seems like the principle of Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence and also Sir's approach in building the nation are like the two pieces of the same pod. Today, Sir will be addressing us on the topic Spirit of Enterprise. Through his presentation, he'll touch upon both the work of Jagriti and how, as a spiritual nation, we can create a national movement that inspires every citizen to become a nation builder. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me here. A special thanks to the university and a special thanks to my good friend KG Mohan, who perhaps introduced me to you. I'm sitting in the beautiful city of Dharmasala right now. I have just visited a very, very nice and eminent institute of Tibetan scholarship called Norbulunka Institute. So I'm very blessed to see that after that spiritual experience, I'm again addressing students from what I think is arguably the most spiritual and temporal university of this country, which is your university. So I'm going to talk about three things. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the Jagriti movement, where I will use some slides. Secondly, I'll talk about the future of India as to how you all and we all can work over the next 25 years at this auspicious moment, which is on the very eve of our 75th anniversary. And finally, I would also like to ask you personally, each one of you, to think about nation building. And for that, maybe I can instigate a dialogue, and thereafter we can open it up for questions. It is about 1:40. I don't intend to take more than 30 minutes in my talk so that we have ample time for question and answers, which can be sent as per your procedures. I'll start by a shloka, which says, Udyamen hi siddhyanti karyani na manorathe, nahi suptasya singhasya praveshanti mukhe mriga. उद्यमी ही के साथ आप काम कर सकते हैं. किसी सोए हुए सिंह के मुंह में अपने आप मृग नहीं प्रवेश करता है. उस सोए हुए सिंह को उठना पड़ता है, जागना पड़ता है, और उसके बाद उसको दौड़ लगानी पड़ती है, तभी जाके उसको सफलता प्राप्त होती है. So my first part of the talk is about the Jagriti movement, which is based on this Siddhant of Udyamita. Udyamita is entrepreneurship, but it's broader than entrepreneurship. It is about how do you build a locality, a place, a country through the process of Udyamita. And let me start with a few slides so that I can show you how the Jagriti movement was built over the last 14 years and how Of course, I played a role, but many others also played a role. The spirit of enterprise occurred to me many years back, precisely 14 years back. And the story starts much before that, 25 years back, when I was in the UK. I was working there, and I took a 3-month leave of absence to organize the first train journey, which is called Azad Bharat Rail Yatra. That was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of India's independence. And it was also about looking at the future rather than looking at the past. Based on that, I wrote a book. It's called India Diamond in the Rough. I beg your pardon. India, A Journey Through a Healing Civilization, which got published by Harper Collins in 2007. And that led to a lot of interest that we should continue with this journey again. And therefore, with the blessings of this banyan, which has got a canopy of 40 meters and is the national tree of India, as well as the village that I come from in eastern UP called Deoria, where we are building this inspiring center, we created a diagram which is called diamond. If you go to the next one. So India is no longer a pyramid. Prahlad's pyramid is known, but I believe it is more a diamond. And my upcoming book, which is called India, a Diamond in the Rough, talks about this India. Let me explain this. When in 2008 we started Jagriti Yatra, we said that there are three Indias. There's a rich India, there's a very poor India, and there is a Madhya Bharat. Madhya Bharat is about 800 million people living in 240 tier 2 and tier 3 districts. And this is the India which will take this country forward. And this is where we said that we need to awaken. Jagriti ka arth hai awakening. We need to awaken young leaders who are entrepreneurs from this tier 2, tier 3, who are not just citizens as voters and consumers, which is how, unfortunately, most people look at as citizens, but they're also builders and creators. This diamond-shaped India is very important to me and to the Jagriti movement. And all the people who come on the Jagriti Yatra are from tier 2 and tier 3 districts. And I suspect many of you who are in this class are also not from the very privileged background, not from the very poor, but from the middle. And that middle is very important for this country because every nation's rise is guided by the middle class. Here it is called the emerging middle class because they are possibly not the middle class, which is right at the top of this middle, somewhere below the top and above the middle. This led to the creation of Jagriti Yatra, which is a 15-day train journey. It takes 500 young people from 20 to 27 years of age group. Many of you are in the age group. I was told you were from 20 to 24. You can all apply for this next year. Last 2 years, we had done it digitally, but this year again, we are going physical. From Mumbai, it goes down to Hubli, Bangalore, Madurai, Chennai, Vizag, Behrampur, Nalanda, Deoria. Deoria is the only place where all the 500 people sleep in the village, which is where this banyan tree is there. Then Delhi, then Tilonia, then Sabarmati, we pay respects to the father of the nation, and then back to Mumbai. It's a 15-day train journey. We hire a full train. It's the world's largest train journey. Of the 500 people, you'll be very pleased to know that 40% are women consistently. And last 2 years, there were 50% women. And an yatra which has been going on for the last 14 years, if you take the last two digital yatras, I would invite all of you to think about joining this journey this year or the next year. It has become a national institution because it's also invites about 40 international participants. And the 40% women participation is a really very important part of our yatra. And we now have a cadre of 7,000 people across the country who have joined this movement through this train journey. And once you come on a train journey which comes from north, south, east, west, it makes you a true citizen of India, and it makes you change your life towards nation building. This is a JADE program where of the 7,000 people, we have chosen some who are spread out in these 240 districts, which are tier 2, tier 3, of which the first 100 we have already got, and we are expanding over the next few years, so that in each of these districts, we can have a person who's able to promote entrepreneurship, Udyamita. And there are some people like Zubin, like Selva Kumar, like Prabhat, who are already doing this. But in the days to come, we will actually implement what we are doing in Deoria, which I'll talk about in these districts. This is our vision. We want to have 4 such dhams of enterprise. One is in Deoria, where we are already started building. One is in Kanyakumari, one is in Ganjam, and one is in Mumbai. One is in Vidarbh in Nagpur, and one is in Mumbai. The Mumbai one will be a research center. It's called Middle of the Diamond Institute, based on this middle of the diamond theory. With God's grace, I'm sure that in the next 10 years, we can build these 4 centers. And this is the Char Dham. If Shankaracharya built the dhams of Hindu religion, We want to build these modern temples of building India through enterprise. This is the center that we're building in Deoria. You can see the banyan tree on the right hand side, the same banyan tree you saw in the first photograph. And this is where I come to the spirit of enterprise. Your college is a spiritual college and a secular college. The spirit of enterprise is not just about making money. The spirit of enterprise is about helping each other build a greater country. That spirit is an organic spirit. For me, it comes from this banyan tree, which is from my village. For you, it may come from your banyan tree or from the campus of the university you are part of, or the location that you come from. It is important that we arrange ourselves not just in very big towns and cities, but also in the areas that we belong to. There is a phrase for it called topophilia, love of place. I've come to McLeodganj today, and I stayed in a very nice place last night, and there is a love of that place for people. Modern Western civilization asks us to abandon our places and go to metro cities. We are trying to get a ulti Ganga. We are going to reverse the flow of the Ganges so that we can take the nation building project to where it matters, where most of India belongs. It doesn't belong in the metro cities where only 15% of India lives. It possibly does belong at the poorer part of the country, but it definitely belongs to 800 million people, which is about 58% of global humanity, of India's population, and about 11% of global humanity. 800 million people is the size of Europe, and we have ignored them for the longest time. So this center is a protest against people building fancy institutions in very big cities. And we are building it in a very ordinary village of a very poor part of the country, which is Purvanchal. It's not very poor no longer, but it is poor. This is a banyan tree. It has a canopy of 40 meters. You can see that we have arranged the center in a spiral shape. Spiral is also, go back. Spiral is also the symbol of Indian civilization. And it's a 6-acre piece of land, not a very big piece of land, but adequate so that we can make an impact. And the impact will not just be in one district, which is Deoria. It'll be in 15 districts around it, including Varanasi, which is not very far away from this district, and Gorakhpur also. We do three things here. We inspire people, we incubate companies. Incubation is the first thing that we are doing. Innovation is the other thing we're doing. Because आप लोगों को ये मालूम होना चाहिए, मैं 2 मिनट हिंदी में बोलूंगा, कि ऐसे छोटे गांव शहरों में भी इनोवेशन की कोई कमी नहीं है. हम लोग इनोवेशन यही दिल्ली में होता है, जहां से मैंने बीटेक किया था, या बड़े शहरों में होता है. इनोवेशन छोटे गांव शहरों में भी होता है. उसको हम कैसे समाहित करें अपने मूवमेंट, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो इंस्पिरेशन, incubation, which we are doing a lot of work, and innovation. We have used a 6M process of doing incubation. These are the kind of companies we are already incubating. And our theory of change is that we believe in the leaders. This column you see beyond the category of digital agro, we believe in the leader. और हमारी जामवंत की थ्योरी है. जामवंत एक ऐसा व्यक्ति था जिसने हनुमान को बताया कि तुम्हें अपार शक्ति है. उसमें एक रामायण का दोहा है, कहाँ ही रीछ पथ सुन हनुमाना, का चुप साध रही बलवाना, पवन तलय बन पवन समाना, बुद्धि विवेक विधान मिताना. आपके पास सब चीजें हनुमान. You have everything. You have vivek, you have buddhi, you have bal, but you're not using it. Similarly, what we do is we encourage our entrepreneurs to say, you have everything in you. We will, as Jagriti, be like Jamwant. We will remind you of the Shakti you have. And I think this doesn't apply to only one region. The whole country has that power, but we have not utilized the citizen power. And this is the subject of my book, upcoming book a lot. These are the 6 areas of innovation we have chosen. These are not about making helicopter blades. These are things which are very relevant for that area, like women. Women progress is very critical for any part of the country, definitely for Purvanchal. Health, digital, agro-processing, rural urbanization, and handicraft and apparel. We are also creating a digital library in vernacular. And when we do this center in Kanyakumari, we will do it in Tamil and Malayalam, because we believe local languages are very critical. This is a center about 2 months back. This is a photograph with the president about 2017, about the first part of my talk. And I have already taken 15 minutes. So I'll spend 5 to 7 minutes on the future. So far, I've talked about what Jagriti has done and what our aim is over the last 14 years. But we are at a very interesting point in the journey of our nation, where I believe that an old generation now that we are 75 is retiring, and a new generation, your generation is taking charge. I will still be there for the next 25, 30 years. But I think after that, you all will have to take this baton on and go on an intergenerational journey, which will take you to the next level and this country to the next level. In the next few years, I think it's about already happening. We will be the largest country. We will exceed China in our population. And therefore, we have a duty of care to remind the world that large democracies can work and we can progress economically, socially, intellectually, as well as spiritually as a nation. And as we all know, China is proposing a very different model, which is one of material growth. And I think all of you will understand as a university which believes in spiritual growth, that man-making doesn't happen only by material growth. It happens when there is a balance between dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. And that is our ancient civilizational exhortation. We are very lucky to be born. You are very lucky to be born in a country at this time where the largest democracy of the world is soon going to be the largest country of the world. And we have a duty of care over the next 25 years to take it to the next level. I want to start this part by telling the story of my family. My grandfather's great-grandfather was a gentleman called Ram Mani. He was born in the same area as this banyan tree. He's not in the same village. He was in the same area in Purvanchal. He was an ordinary farmer, but he's a man of great piety. When he was born, the GDP of this country was 20% of global GDP. Ming China at that time was only 17 to 18%. So we were the most prosperous nation at that time. But just a few years before that, Nader Shah had come and he had invaded Delhi Sultanate. He had taken the peacock throne with him and the Kohinoor diamond as well. From 1777, which is when Ram Mani was born, his son Bisheshwar Mani was born in 1810. By this time, what was previously Purvanchal had already been ceded to the British under the Awadh Pact. From 1810, which is when Bisheshwar Mani was born, the GDP of India was 16%. When his son, Ram Tahal Mani, my grandfather's father, was born, about 1860s. I think it was 1842, I beg your pardon. India's GDP had come down to 12%. When his son, my grandfather, was born in 1900, his name was Srinivas Mani, GDP had crashed to 8%. When my father was born and he became an army officer and he served in the army for 40 years, when he entered the army just after independence, our GDP of global GDP was 3.5%. And our population has always remained 18% of global population. Colonialism over the last roughly 300 years, 250 years, collapsed our GDP, collapsed our artisans, our rural areas became denuded. When my grandfather was born, his mother died of cholera at the age of 2. This banyan tree that I showed you has seen that decline. It is my hope that with help from people like you, my own effort, in my lifetime, over the next 25, 30, 40 years, we will go back to a GDP which is 10% of global GDP. Now, keep in mind, it's not just GDP which matters, it's the people who build the nation which matter. It is not just pure material growth, but in the act of building the nation, people find meaning, people find purpose, people even find spirituality. Therefore, I think this balanced growth of this country, which is people-centered, not only driven by the government, but driven across the country by people, is going to be central to our growth journey. And maybe my children, over the next 50 years, I may not be around by that time, can take our GDP back to about 18 to 20%, the same level that my grandfather's great-grandfather Ram Mani found this country. This is a golden opportunity for all of us. most important for all of you. But I must also say that this opportunity is not there forever. Over the next 20 odd years, our demography is going to age. We will become what China is today. Today, China is getting old. We will become old in the next 25 years. What does old mean? Which means the number of people who are between about 15 to 50, 15 to 60, which is the working age population, becomes lower and lower. And the number of people who are between 1 to 15 and from 60 to the time that they pass away becomes higher, which is called the dependency ratio. Therefore, there is an urgency of doing what we are doing through Jagriti, through what your university is doing, through all efforts across the place. And this is what I think the introductory person mentioned, that I don't think nation building is the job of Jagriti or Shashank Mani or KG Mohan or some person like that. It is a job of every one of us. And if we can get that Republican energies of all of us, the spiritual energy, the intellectual energy going, then we will build a beautiful country that our children will be proud of, you will be proud of. But as I said, the matter is urgent. Women have to come forward. I have said in my new book that they are natural balance sheet builders. It has been proven that if you give 100 rupees to a woman, she will, in a rural area, employ it for what I call balance sheet building activities, the education of the children, the grooming of a girl child, the well-being of the family. The same 100 rupees given to a man, at least 10, 20, 30, 40% goes towards tobacco, cigarette, and other things. I'm talking about a typical situation. There are, of course, very good men, and we need that. The second piece is youth. This is an amazingly young country. But if you do not give employment to those young people, then there will be social unrest. We also have to learn from our history. Purvanchal is backward. Eastern UP is backward. Because for 90 years after 1857, it was repressed by the British. Because Mangal Pandey came from the district adjoining Deoria. He was born he was 13 years elder to my grandfather's father, Ram Mani, great-grandfather's father. So these are things that we need to recognize. Why is the middle poor? Why is Jharkhand poor? Because Birsa Munda came from there. He fought the British for many years. Why is Karnataka mein Rani Kittur fought the British? These are real heroes of India. And they have to be celebrated because we have to understand the situation of small towns and districts is what it is because of this trauma. I also have debated a lot about the 75th anniversary, how a new generation takes up with new ideas. Whatever said and done, our founders were people who had ideas about socialism, who had ideas which are informed by what the British were saying at that time, because many were half British themselves. I wouldn't want to name any founder, but many of the thinking, उनकी सोच ही ऐसी थी कि वो जो हमारे ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य के लोगों का अनुकरण करते थे, उससे आगे बढ़ने की उनकी क्षमता नहीं थी. और यही सत्य है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में. जब यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का पहला जनरेशन था, वो खुद स्लेव होल्डर्स थे. वो स्लेवरी हटा नहीं पाए. उसके बाद जब लिंकन आए 75वीं साल के आसपास, तभी जाके उसको हटाना पड़ा. हम लोग का भी दायित्व बनता है 75वीं साल में हटाने की. कल्चर, हम लोग कैसे अपने छोटे गांव शहरों के कल्चर को लेके चले. मैं जब देवरिया में रहता हूँ, देवरिया छोटा गांव है, तो वहां के कल्चर के साथ मैं जब जुड़ता हूँ तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. अभी मैं गया था इस धर्मशाला के इंस्टीट्यूट में, तो लोग तांका पेंटिंग कर रहे थे. उस पेंटिंग को देख के मैंने देखा कि कितना अच्छा सुंदर कल्चर है तिब्बत का, जिसको प्रिजर्व करने की आवश्यकता है, जरूरत है, जिम्मेदारी है. उसके बाद हम लोग किस प्रकार से आगे बढ़ेंगे. उद्यमिता, how do we take entrepreneurship to the real people, not just in the Bangalores and the Delhis where we are using unicorns, which by the way, there's nothing wrong about that. We should celebrate that. But how do we create mini unicorns in these smaller towns and districts where the majority lives? Otherwise, we'll have a very skewed growth. The citizen, our constitution did not give enough powers to the citizen. It actually asked the state to fulfill many things. Now's the time the citizen has to come forward. The district, how do we use a district, which I've written a lot about, like Deoria, which is in itself the size of Uruguay as a country. It has 40 lakh people. It has a size of 75 kilometers north and south and 100 east and west. We have ignored these districts, barring the time when we go into election mode. Digital, very critical. How do we use data for the furtherance of our democracy? And finally, how do we envision a new modernity? I believe in a new modernity, not a modernity which believes in westernization, a modernity which is local, which believes in culture, which believes in things which are culture talks about, which believes in sarvodaya and integral humanism, which is not just about mechanical replication of the West. West itself is in trouble with all the environmental problems that they're going through. And Einstein has said that they're offering many solutions, but many solutions have to come from India, from our own soil, for our own country. And finally, if we do all of that over the next 25 years, I believe, at least I would be very keen to get your cooperation for a Banyan revolution, where we take Udyamita to every small town and district and inspire people to build their local locality. Some of this is discussed in my next book, which is called India, a Diamond in the Rough. As you know, India's diamond-shaped structure is something which I'm passionate about, and I've elaborated that in an 80,000 word book. With the grace of God, it'll get published by a major publisher next year. And I'm sure that with KG Mohan's sponsorship and this university, many of you will get to read it. In any case, you can read my first book, India, a Journey Through a Healing Civilization. It's it's under my name, Shashank Mani. It's in Harper Collins. You can get it on Amazon. If you find difficulty, then I can also buy some copies and send it to the university. And finally, the last part, which I don't want to spend more than 2-3 minutes, how do you get involved? You are future leaders of this country. You come from small towns and districts. आप लोग बहुत privileged नहीं हो. आपका ये सौभाग्य है कि सत्सा यूनिवर्सिटी में आपको जगह मिली. आपको आध्यात्मिक के साथ साथ टेम्पोरल लर्निंग भी का भी मतलब एक तरह से फायदा मिला है. दोनों तरफ की लर्निंग आपकी है. मुझे मालूम है कि इस यूनिवर्सिटी का रेपुटेशन बहुत ही अच्छी है. तो you're privileged. And also, you have been taught to serve the needy. You have been taught to collaborate, which I was never taught. If I was to be honest with you, when I was a B.Tech in IIT for 4 years, I was always a loner because we were always looking at individual success. You must think of team success. So how do we team up? How do you team up with others? How do you adopt a place which is your own so that you can make that happen through Udyamita? And wherever needed, Jagriti is ready and available to serve you, to come along with you, but we will only play the role of Jamwant. We ourselves will never become Hanuman, because if we become Jamwant, we can raise thousands of Hanumans, millions of Hanumans who have tremendous potential, like all of you do. So with those words, I will end my talk. I know it was perhaps in 2 or 3 parts. Some of this may be difficult to digest. What I will do is I will PDF that presentation that I've shown to you, and I can ask Kirtana ji to circulate it as and when required to all of you. No issue. The website, jagritiyatra.com, where you can apply for the yatra, and jecp.in, which is about the Jagriti Enterprise Center, Purvanchal. Please have a look at those 2 sites. And I hope that I see many of you on the train journey also. With those words, I'll hand it back to the moderator.
That was a truly inspiring and informative session. Sir, there are few questions on the request. With your permission, I shall read out to you. Today is the generation of copy and paste mindset and the level of commercializing the innovation. How young aspirants can consistently work towards different innovations?
Yeah. So innovation is usually about solving a problem in a new way. And my belief is that the copy and paste happens because we usually think the problem is what the West has, and we try to solve it in the big cities. A better use of innovation, as we are doing in Deoria and the center, is to find problems which are bothering the many and solve them. So I often joke, I said that the goal of innovation in big cities is how do you get a Swiggy pizza delivered 30 seconds faster? Okay, I mean, I'm happy with that. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I would really be impressed by is how do you solve the diabetes problem in a small district? How do you solve the water and sanitation problem? These are huge problems across the country. How do you solve the problem of urbanization in these countries, in these districts? where the majority lives. And there's a very beautiful book by a guy called Clayton Christensen on innovation. Some of you should read it. And he talks about how true innovation in countries like Japan and Korea happened when they went to their own hinterland, experimented with cars like Toyota on roads in Japan, in the rural Japan, and then they exported it. So my sense is that don't go after copy paste, because you are solving a problem which exists in large cities where the solutions are usually already there with the Western mindset. Usually solutions in urban areas like Mumbai and Delhi are the ones which will also apply in London and Washington. What I think is unique about India is that India is still not very urban. I don't know whether you know, but Brazil is 85% urban. We are only about 35% urban, and we are much bigger than Brazil. So we believe that we can still decentralize, have innovations which are really for the many, not for the few, and that can really become the new age innovation. Many of these may not be high technology innovation. Like for instance, women's safety device is being made in Deoria by a lady who's from the Yatra called Manisha Mohan, who went to MIT, and she talked about women's safety, but she's bringing it into Deoria, and she's putting the women's safety device in the clothing and the earrings of women who are being, that clothing and earring is being made by a local girl called Pooja Shahi. That's the kind of very interesting innovation, which is of use to many women who feel sometimes going out at night in a rural setting, they require some helpline, and she's providing that helpline. That's just one example. There are many other examples of innovation. There is a guy called Arvind Rai who has created a bicycle, which is a utility vehicle, electrical utility vehicle cycle for dhobis and for those people who are small, may I say, Udyamis. So this is a cycle which is electric. It can go 45 minutes. It has a very big rugged wheel. It can carry a lot of material in the back and sometimes in the front. So it can help the local people. Now that can transform the lives of many. So those are just two examples of many innovations where copy paste is not required.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the second question. It is about the Jagriti Yatra. It is said that limit for passion to exist. Sir, this passion of yours was there from your childhood or later it got uprooted? If so, how did you manage to pursue it?
Yeah. So part of it is that I was always a gumakkad from a very early age. Maybe it was part of me. I was always a wanderer. And my father was in the army. So I was born in very many different towns. Like I was born in Gorakhpur, which is my hometown. Deoria is the next district where I spent a lot of my summers because my father was in the army and he would get 2 months of leave. I went to Sangrur in Punjab. I was in Patiala in Punjab. I did 3 years of very, very nice time in Ahmednagar in Maharashtra. Then I came to Lucknow where I did 4 years of schooling. My father was at that time posted in Jaipur. So I was in Jaipur, then in Jammu. So I think the wandering part was very important. So one thing I would say to all of you, wander. Because all our sages from Vivekananda to Shankaracharya to everyone were wanderers. And when you explore this country, you find something very different. Now, where did the passion come from? I think passion came from this. It's very different, but I had a dream when I was in class 11th, I think, that I was in my village, not the village I'm in right now, but there was another small place we had close to the border of Nepal. And I'm sitting there with some young people that I've taken there. But that was just a dream. Then, you know, the film Jagriti, which has got very beautiful song, Aao Bachon Tumhe Dikhaye Jhanki Hindustan Ki. That also was a subconscious inspiration. So when the 50th anniversary came, I felt that I should take young people across. Now, the second, I think, part of your question is, how do you follow that passion? Passion is easy. It comes from inside. Discipline is difficult. So why is the Yatra successful? The Yatra is not successful because I was passionate. The Yatra was successful because I was disciplined. Every year for the last 14 years, without fail, every Saturday, I arrange a call of 2 hours, which assesses where we are on the Jagriti Yatra. And now the Jagriti Udyam Kendra. For the first 8 to 9 years, because the Yatra was given shape, we insisted on this call. Just to give you an example, when the Yatra ends on the 8th of January, We celebrate the ending on the 26th of January. And the next weekend on Saturday, we start the calls again for the next Yatra, which is in December. So you can see that we were very disciplined about it. So any enterprise, any effort has got change and discipline. Yes, I was a change maker because I wanted this to happen to others, but I was disciplined to happen. And discipline is not just an individual effort, it is a team effort. Because I found disciplined people around me, they were also part of this. So passion has to be matched by discipline, and we enforce this on the train. While the train, all of you, if you come, you will find you can say anything, anywhere to anyone. There's no parhej. But we will make sure that when the train comes, when you come back to the train station, if you're not there for the head count, then you're in trouble. You need to make sure that all safety measures are adopted. Otherwise, we can't take 800 people because 500 are yatris and 300 are helpers on a special train for 15 days across the country and get them back consistently for 12 years. That can only happen if you're disciplined. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir's deliberation on the initiative Jagriti Yatra truly inspired all of us. And there are many live examples for us to see how it is having huge impact on youth. Sir mentioned very important factor that only when there is a balance between Purusharthas, true transformation happens. It's people who built nation matter and not its only GDP, how true it is. By listening to Sir, we understood that consistent pursuit is the key for the change to happen in the world. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. We'll end the session.
Thank you very much.
We will end the session with the prayers.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us and sharing your wisdom with all of us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it and all the very best. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir.